Hello everyone, my name's Elliot Reid, and but today what we're going to be doing is talking about communication negotiation. All right, now this I would say is the most important pillar of what we do because yes, we're dealing with people's bodies, but the only way that we can gain in to that world is through someone's mind, through their ability to open up to us. All right. And also for our ability to see them and to gain access into that world, to understand that world. And the better that we can understand that internal world, the more able we are to walk a path with that patient where we are accurately perceiving each other. So a lot of, for example, we've talked to a lot of therapists, they'll use the term relational. The idea that as soon as you meet someone, as soon as you start interacting with someone, a relationship starts to form. And the more accurate an understanding we have of that relationship, the better we can start to walk and hit those milestones along to where the patient wants to be. So this is an example, right? We're going to be using a framework called the hero story. And the hero story forms a basis of a lot of psychotherapeutic intervention. This idea that someone is going from stasis, which is an unknown world, the known world. This is where they have no reason for change. This is someone before pain. This is someone before depression, before anxiety, all of these things. And they have an idea where they should be going or where they want to go. The question is, first off, whether they take that call to get there. And once they do take that call, how do they make sure that they stay along that path, right? So let me just make sure before we progress that we haven't missed anything. Yeah, okay, great. So if you go to slide 2, we have what is called the monolith, which is the hero's journey. Now, the hero's journey was first coined by Joseph Campbell. He's a fantastic mythologist. What he actually did is he took different stories that human beings have been telling for a long time. So some of those are purely myth, some of them more religion. And he was looking to see if there is any commonality between these myths. And what he found is, he then summarized all of these myths into what's called the hero's journey. So I've flattened this out, the hero's journey, just for ease of explanation, but you'll see how it's more of I'll go down. You'll see how it's actually more of a circle, all right? So the hero's journey. So first off, we have stasis, no reason for change. That is, for example, Peter Parker before he was bit by a spider. That is Frodo before he left the Shire. It's our patients before they're in pain. And it's also our patients, for example, before they realize that they need to improve their health and fitness journey. So let's get some examples. So Maya, what do people commonly say to you as to why they want to start working with you?
They want to make change.
And why do they want to make change?
Usually for health, looks, make a difference in their life.
Right. So even if we take that, right, health and looks. Have you heard that, for example, someone has said to you that it's getting too hard to go up the stairs, I'm not able to do what my family want to do on outings, or what my boyfriend or my girlfriend want to do when it comes to going out? Or I'm realizing I don't look the way I used to look when it comes.
Big one is being able to run around their children.
Run around their children, right? So you might even say that as their children get fitter and healthy, or as their children become stronger and faster, they're not able to keep up with them. Yeah. So at first off, they might start to notice it, but they don't want to take action. And then the trauma of that existence becomes so high that they need to reach out. And that's really where the journey begins. So they have gone through the past refusal and now they're accepting the call to action. And then what we have is between the beginning and the end, there are multiple times where our patients or our clients can refuse the call. Yeah. So that is often when we don't hear from them again. Yeah, they might just go and we never, they disappear from our books. There's a cancellation, 2 weeks go past and you forget that they were even booked in to see you again, right? Something has happened at that point for them to refuse the journey to progress forward. And it's our job to use our own communicative, negotiative skills to be able to catch them at that point or see the incline towards that point, understand them, and then intervene to get them to return to that journey towards the boon. And that's what we're really going to be focusing on going forward today. All right. Now, you'll see in the second slide, so let's go through this together. So let's go to exploring the end of stasis. So we've got the call to adventure, which you might say is the call to action, refusal of the call, which we've already spoken about, and then we've got meeting the mentor. We are the mentors. We're the ones who the person reaches out to help them to cross into the next stage, which is exploring the journey to the boon. So crossing the threshold, entering a special world, which is basically an unknown world. Them coming in and working with a professional like us might be the first time they've done it, but it's definitely, well, it's most likely going to be the first time that they've met you. And they're going to meet tests, allies, and enemies. So what might this be in their world? What is going to test them? What is going to cause friction towards them getting to where they want to be? You got any examples? Lack of motivation. Any others? Money. Change in their route. In what sense?
Like something.
Oh yeah, absolutely. 100%. Any others? Time. Any others? I would say also maybe something which is happening more internally, like doubt, or it could be that they have broken the trend. So the amount of people who are really good with their exercises, and then for the week between you next and all their gym routine or their diet, and the time between you last saw them and the time that you see them again, they haven't done them, right? And they experience shame and they experience doubt, and they start to almost coach themselves out of the process of continuing forward because the pain of disappointing themselves is too much. So if we can step in, and just as they're about to refuse the call because they're doubting themselves too much, if we can give them some form of communication which soothes that, then we can get them right back onto the path to where they want to be again. All right. So the last one is one which we're less involved in, or actually we are actually involved in this. So the last one is refusal of the return. Can you see that there? Yeah. So what might refusal of the return be?
Refusal of return and then not coming back.
No, it's them not going away. So patients.
They become reliant.
Exactly. They become reliant on you.
And on your reassurance.
Yeah. They become reliant on the relationship, which should initially have been there to let them become self-sufficient. Or I think what about for you, Maya? Do you experience the same thing, or?
Yes, I try to get my clients to the point where they feel confident enough to go away.
Yeah.
They will always come up with, I wouldn't have done that on my own. It's like, you can.
Yeah.
You've done it.
Yeah.
You can do it.
Yeah.
It's almost convincing themselves they can't do it.
Right. And then that's when we have to go through a little bit of, I suppose, a consultation with them as to what they actually want from coming here. And if they're like, do you know what, I feel like I've got everything that I want, but I just really like the treatment, or I really like talking to you or having training sessions with you, it keeps me accountable, fine. That still enables them to master the two worlds, where they've come here, they've got everything that they wanted, they've returned to their normality, plus they have a lot more knowledge of the potential experience of pain or low moods or unfitness. They have the tools to get themselves back out of it if they need to. And that's exactly where we want them to be, to return with special knowledge. So just to draw some similarities, so we've got Frodo and your patient. All right, so Frodo, refusal of the call. The war is coming to the Shire, but I'm safe here. That's the patient or the client saying, I'm in pain or I'm fit, but it'll get better. I'll change next week. It's not a problem. They accept the call, meet the mentor. War is coming to the Shire, I must seek Gandalf. That's your patient or your client saying, the pain or my fitness isn't getting better, I need an expert. The journey, so Frodo, so this is tests, allies, and enemies. The journey to Mount Doom is tougher than I thought. Can't someone else do it? Patient or client saying, I need to change more than I would like. Can't you just take my pain away, or can't I just pay for 20 sessions and you get me fit? Right? These are the test, allies, and enemies. The boon, I've overcome the barriers to defeat Saruman, or I've gained a lifestyle change and knowledge of the self. And then refusal of the return, I want to stay in the Shire, but I know I must leave. Or your patient or your client saying, I want to keep coming back. I want to keep coming, but I know it will be futile. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, so futile in the sense of I've got everything that I need. I can go now. All right, so keeping our clients on the straight and narrow. So that's where it comes back to this analysis here. So framework of understanding the communicative process. Tools to step into the patient's or the client's internal world to return them back to their movement forward. And communicative tools to keep the client on the straight and narrow. So I think you brushed on this in ACT, but you also in NLP, you have this idea of away from goals and towards goals. So away from goals is I don't like how I look. Towards goals is I want to look like that. Yeah. So away from goals might be I don't want to be in pain, and towards goals would be I want to have full function of my body. Yeah. So slightly different takes on it, and understanding where that patient is helps us to position how we communicate with them going forward, right? So you'll probably experience patients where pain isn't necessarily their focus anymore. They're 70 to 80% better. They're out of that. So to keep positioning the treatment around pain makes no sense. You then have to answer or question, why are they still coming here? What more do they want from coming here? And to reassess their goals or understand their values, as Charlotte explained in ACT, so we can position what we're doing far more accurately to make sure that we're keeping that clear communication with our patients and with our clients. All right, so first off, that is just a real quick overrun of a framework of understanding what we're going to talk about going forward. Does anyone have any questions before we go forward? All good, yeah? All right, sweet. So let's go through some techniques. So these are techniques which I commonly use. The vast majority of them are evidence-based. A lot of them have been taken from different books that I've read or different studies that I've read. If any of you need references or if you have any questions about what I'm saying, just let me know straight away. All right. Has anyone come across the term labeling before? Labeling? Okay, what is labeling?
You always talk about
it. Yeah.
You always describe it as like you have a patient in front of you. I don't quite know how to put it.
Should we go through it?
Is it like when you're saying that you understand the patient and you kind of hear what they're saying?
Yeah, well, it's actually demonstrating. It's demonstrating your understanding of them. I need a volunteer. I need someone to sit on that chair. Sweet. All right, cool. So you can say that labeling is remarking on the emotional states of others in a non-judgmental way. This builds rapport via the basic, you could say, the basic tenet of the patient feeling or the client feeling that you've seen them in their totality, not just a part of them, not just a part they want to show you, but you've seen something that lies a bit deeper than that. All right, so we're going to use labeling technique to once again get past or get around the first refusal. All right, so I want you to think of an example which relates to what we've discussed that might make a patient or a client want to quit.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right. So, Katie, how have you been since the last week?
I've been okay.
Yeah? How have you been getting on? Have you been able to go through what we discussed before?
I have, but when I do the bits that you advise me to, it really hurts. It hurts more when I'm doing exercises than when I'm not doing it.
Sorry, how do you mean?
So I get more pain when I'm doing the things that you advise rather than when I'm not.
You're getting more pain when I'm asking you to. Okay, got you. So so let me just paraphrase. So when you're going through the advice it went to, for example, with the cat cows, you're feeling more discomfort when you finish them. Yeah. Okay, that must be very frustrating for you. Okay, does that make you less likely? I take it as making you less likely to do them.
Yeah.
Okay, so how about if we come up maybe with a middle ground, something that you can do which isn't going to be painful but causes you ease. We're just going to trial and error that to see what that could be. Yeah. Does that sound all right? Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. So it's quite basic, right? And you probably guys notice that you're probably going to be doing that anyway. But me saying to Katie, that must be quite frustrating for you, or I understand that's not why you come here. Let's try and find a solution, right? Another example of labeling is an example which was sorry, take a seat now for that. Another example of labeling was used in the book How to Win Friends and Influence People. So not evidence-based, but quite effective. So imagine you've crashed your car and you've crashed your car into someone else, and that person is about to get out of that car and be really, really angry with you. And you get out of the car and say, I'm so sorry, I'm a complete idiot. I should have seen you come in. I'll tell you what I'll do is I'll give my insurance details straight away. We'll get it fixed within a week. How does that sound? Now, what you've done is you've disarmed their aggression and their frustration by labeling what they're already experiencing, right? But it also should open up an avenue of conversation where you can start to bridge the two worlds, yeah? So where I'm gaining, not gaining your permission, but I'm gaining your approval that I understand you and that I am giving you evidence that I understand what you're going through. Once again, you see me, right? So there's different ways that you can scale down the intensity. So if I say to you, you seem quite frustrated, right? That can sound quite aggressive. But if I say, you must be feeling quite frustrated right now, or if I then say, if that was me, I'd be feeling quite frustrated right now. Do you see how I'm starting to reduce the invasiveness of what I'm saying? Because I'm starting to take it away from being about them to them being about a hypothesis about them to them it being about me. Yes, there's different techniques you can use. Paraphrasing. So, okay. Has anyone come across so paraphrasing is when you will summarize what that person's just said. So I think that we might have covered this before, where during a consultation, I'll have my laptop closed. I'll be keeping eye contact with them because this is a nice way, once again, to build rapport. And then once they've told me exactly what they're experiencing, I'll say to them, I'm just going to repeat what you've said. If I get anything wrong, please just let me know. And as I'm typing, I'll be speaking about what I'm typing. Now, once again, it comes back to this idea or this phrase of you see me and you understand me. Yeah. So, do you want me to do an example of that, or do you feel pretty clear with that? All good? Yeah. Cool. Okay. Fine. So it doesn't have to be word for word, but your ability to memorize what they're saying and repeat it back to them is a great way to build rapport. And once again, they will feel like they've been seen. Now, this comes actually one of the most well-known studies of paraphrasing and paraphrasing as being a way to build rapport and enter into that patient's internal world is restaurant tips. So they did an experiment where they had two groups, a control group where they didn't use intervention and a variable group where they did use intervention. And the intervention was simply the waiter repeating the order back to the customer. And they found that the waiters or waitresses who repeated the order back to the customer, their tips went up through the roof. But once again, I've been seen, that person knows exactly what I want, and therefore I trust them to give it to me. Yeah? All right. There's another, what?
I'm just laughing because I find it annoying. I'm like, just come right.
But then so statistically, you're an anomaly because most people would tip heavier. Another nice way that you can use paraphrasing is this. I need another example, please. I need another volunteer, please. Yeah, cool. Yeah, so none of these techniques. To be fair, actually no, it's on the camera. That's all good. So another technique, and all of these techniques, it needs to be seamless. It can't seem to the patient or the client like you're doing it on purpose. Otherwise, then it comes across completely disingenuous. Yeah. All right. Cool. So I just need you to imagine you're a patient or a client with a very sensitive story, and I just want you to tell it to me, please. Yeah. So it could be anything. Think of a patient who has emotional trauma attached to their discomfort.
Yeah.
Yeah, go for it.
Oh, I was struggling with.
Okay, imagine your uncle's died, and your uncle died around the time of the pain.
Okay.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so once again, I can start paraphrasing to start with. So, Charlotte, it sounds like your pain started when your uncle was diagnosed with a terminal illness. Is that right? Yeah. Okay, can you just tell me a little bit about what you were going through at the time?
Well, I was having to do a lot of travelling up and down the country to speak with different family members about what had happened.
And I don't know if maybe it was spending more time in the car.
You were spending a bit more time in the car?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, how far were you travelling?
Well, on a week, I was maybe doing like 16 hours.
16 hours of driving?
Yeah, across the country.
Okay. You might. It's a bit of a bad example, but did anyone see what I was doing? Okay, what was I doing?
You made that hard for us. Sorry.
Yeah. So what would you say that I was doing? What was the intervention? Oh, so it wasn't obvious then. Okay, cool. So if you just repeat the last fact or the last subject of that sentence, it opens that person up to talk more about it, right? So if it wasn't for you, and partly because it might be that we brought it back to the mechanical side of things, so we brought it back to sitting, for example, right? My options were, when you said 16 hours, I was 16 hours of driving, and then you went to, yeah, I was up and down the country seeing family. And then it then might then give me a way in to say, okay, how was that time spending time with your family? You know, some of it was a bit shit. They were a bit nasty to me or something like that, a bit nasty to you. And then just by you saying that, you can help to continue that conversation for someone who might be a little bit more reluctant to continue the conversation. Yeah? Sweet. So, cheers. So just repeating the last part of the sentence. All right. And the last one, last couple. So mirroring. Has anyone come across mirroring before? Yeah, so what's mirroring?
Mirror the feelings or the rapport, or even just movements.
Yeah. So movements is the most common one. This has also been shown to build rapport and to build understanding and to build closeness or rapport between two people, right? So if I just take a seat, just to give you an example. So from it. So if I'm having a conversation with Katie, and from here, I'm not going to maybe mimic completely like this, but even if I were to mimic the posture or the position, right? So if Katie's forward, I'm forward. If Katie sits back, then I might then relax back. And it might not be that you're doing it straight away, but that as a subconscious cue is once again saying, you're like me, all right? I'll give you that you might not have as much of a problem with this, but men more have a problem with. What are you nodding to?
I've seen like consultants before and being on like the other side of it, and like I've met a consultant one time and he was like really slouched in his chair and like it just looked really unprofessional.
Right.
And like I felt that it was like he couldn't be bothered.
Right.
Because he was like on the desk and he was like this.
Yeah.
And like slouching. And I was like, this is meant to be an appointment.
Yeah.
I was like, and I was sitting like this.
Yeah.
So I kind of felt that, oh, you're not taking it seriously. That's
right.
how I felt from a patient perspective.
Perfect. And one might interpret that you were taking it seriously. So why aren't you taking it seriously as well?
Yeah.
Because it might be that if you were talking to someone in a more relaxed setting and you were slumped and someone was bolt upright like this, you're like, fucking hell, relax, son. Like, why are you, do you know what I mean? Like, why are you so upright? Like, relax is a more relaxed setting. So you've quite accurately there said that my posture was like this because this is what it meant to me. And once again, the benefit of mirroring is you're able to, with your body language, view that situation the same way as the other person, right? Now, I'm going to give you another example. This is what I was talking about more with men. I just need someone to stand up for me, please. Come on, Ellie. Let's go. All right, so take a step back a little bit. So if we're having a conversation right now, how do you feel in yourself?
We're too far away.
Too far away. Right, now, you might need to return this a little bit. So it might be that if I start standing here, then you feel a bit more comfortable with me, or that there's a little bit. Now, what about if I start standing like this? You start to feel a little bit more uncomfortable?
Yeah, I feel like you're going to come at me.
Yeah, right. And then what about if I now start talking to you like this?
Yeah, that's
Too much, right? See how she instinctively wants to step back, right? So one way that you can, especially when it comes to seeing someone for the first time, right, is first off, it could be quite nice if I'm a bit more open with you, right? If I'm closed off like here, that might feel a little bit more intimidating. But if I'm open and I'm showing you myself, it seems like I'm probably a bit of a friendlier person, especially if I'm smiling at the same time, right? But the main issue would be being too close, right? Now, if you are close and you're in, say, a confined space, so this feels a bit uncomfortable. You see how Ellie's got a front foot forward in stance, yeah? So you want to block in, she's blocking herself a bit. But if I start leaning back, does that make you feel a bit more comfortable? Yeah? Cool. So there's ways that you can just position yourself to make sure that the person in front of you feels more comfortable when you're speaking to them. And once again, that can be face to face, even when you're sitting. So, like, for example, if I'm here, you might start to feel a bit uncomfortable, but once again, if I just lean back a little bit, that can make you feel a bit more comfortable. Yeah, sweet. All right, cool. But that's mainly for
Yeah, like some people
yeah,
like to get really like close.
yeah. And then that might be a time where you do kind of like lean back, but you put your foot in the wave as a little bit of a barrier, which is absolutely fine. All right. Cool. The last one, which Danny Miller actually spoke about when he was here, is bringing up your own experiences as a way of building rapport, right? So that's something that I've only just started to do recently. I tended to be much more private with my patients, with my clients. Didn't want to know much about me. I wanted to give them as much space as possible. But it's been really interesting seeing how they respond when I say to them that, oh, I've had that injury, or that's what I experienced with that, or it could be even with, I think one of you had a patient I referred to the other day, and she had COVID, and when she had COVID, she had ridiculous symptoms down both her legs. I was like, oh, I had that as well. That's exactly the same.
She had that one.
Right. And she immediately seemed to warm to me because I'd gone through what she'd been through. And not just that, but I'm out on the other side as well, right? So this is, so I'm just going to reflect this very, very briefly so I don't get too caught up on it. But I've been through this as well, and now I'm here, could be one of two myths, right? And these myths are commonly seen in film, books, but you'll also know about them from stories that people have told you, which was, I was where you were in a point of stasis. I hit a really dark time, but now I'm here and I'm good. All right. So that myth is commonly called the belly of the whale. So Jonah in the belly of the whale. So I was in the pit of darkness, but now I'm good again. Yeah. That is exactly the same story as Beauty and the Beast, Lion King. You could say Lord of the Rings is the same story as that. And then the other version of that is I've been to the mountaintop. So I've been to the mountaintop is I was here, but I've seen the promised land, and now I'm back again. So that's a story of Moses, Martin Luther King. I've seen the promised land. It's a story that a lot of salesmen use. So salesmen could be, for example, I was in a state of normality, but then I met someone who taught me how to do this and make this, and now I'm going to come back down and teach you how to do exactly the same thing. So these are just other examples of monoliths that commonly find themselves into human culture or the human experience. All right, so now the other thing that we really need is leadership skills to guide those individuals throughout their experience and throughout their journey. So first of all, does anyone have any questions before we progress? All good? All right. So leadership skills to direct the client along their journey. So returning focus to what is controllable. Now, this has been spoken about in a few different realms of therapeutic intervention. So the most obvious and oldest one is Stoic philosophy, that you focus on what you can control and you don't focus on what you can't control. You might have seen that flow chart of, is something wrong? Yes. Can you change it? Yes. Then don't worry about it. No. Then don't worry about it, right? So a Stoic metaphor could be one of the Stoic archer, that the archer is only in control up until the moment that the arrow leaves the bow. After the arrow leaves the bow, if the object moves, if the wind blows and blows the arrow off track, the archer isn't responsible for that. All the archer can do is take another shot, right? It sounds very simple, but we'll have a lot of people who come into us very fixated and very concerned about things which are most of the time outside of their control. The only thing that we can control with them is focus, effort, attention, things like that. All right. So an example, the client is not in control of their pain, their weight, their appearance, or their mind, etc. They can only influence it. It's the Stoic philosophy formed the underpinning of cognitive behavioral therapy. We've then also got the ACT approach, which views your internal world and processes as a behavior. Is that right? So you have internal behaviors, and that you should be able to influence or try to work with in a non-judgmental fashion these internal behaviors as well. And then you would also have, so for example, for you, Maya, you would work on controlling the behavior of eating, not the weight itself. Yeah, cool. All right. So, a metaphor of the Stoic archer, John Wooden, who formed the Pyramid of Success. John Wooden is the most successful basketball coach of all time, collegiate basketball coach of all time. His book, one of his books, is in the reception area. It's really, really good. It combines a lot of Stoic philosophy, CBT, and also a little bit of theology as well. But it's a really nice toolkit that you can have, John Wooden's methods, just to help with your clients. And then discovering client values. So once again, under leadership skills. So understanding what is driving your client forward, that would form more of your towards goals rather than your away from goals. And one way that we can get an idea of the underlying truths is using Socratic questioning. So I don't know if any of you guys have come across Socratic questioning before. All right, cool. It's the how's, the what's, the where, the why's, the when's. Yeah. Once again, I need an example. I need someone. If I need a what's the word? Sorry, I need a body. Yeah. All right. So I want you to tell me something that you really believe in. Would you believe in? Could be that people should be good. Could be that the world's a fair place. Could be that life is good.
I believe that everyone should do good.
Everyone should do good. Why do you think that?
Because I think the world would be a better place if everyone did.
Does everyone else share your values? No. Then why should people follow your values?
Because that's what I think is right.
But then, is what you think based on how you feel, or is it based on logic?
Both, I would say.
Okay, what's the logic behind it?
That if everyone did one good thing, the world would probably be a better place.
But do you think that everyone wants the world to be a better place?
No.
So then how is your worldview applicable with the majority of people?
Probably not.
Oh, okay, cool. I didn't mean to do that. I agree with you, by the way. I agree with you. That's fine. Okay.
It's
So
probably that not everyone would have that, and that's
yeah.
why that would never happen.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, but I agree with your first point as well. All right, so you can take a seat now. So using those words, and I did that in quite a debative way. We would do it in a way to raise cognitive dissonance. So cognitive dissonance is where someone feels discomfort having two conflicting belief systems, right? And if you raise that enough, they've got two options. Either they need to depart from the conversation because their ego is attached to that belief so much that they're not going to want to change it. So therefore they have to disembark. Or alternatively, they're forced to make a change, right? So let me give you an example. So let's have a patient. Here we go. A patient believes that they need a joint to be manipulated back into place in their back, right? We know that that belief system has been holding them back. It's not allowing them to progress. So we might strategically say, very gently, very subtly, I'm going to raise that person's cognitive dissonance. We'll move on to a fitness example in a second. So it might be that, okay, just out of interest, what makes you think that there's a joint in your back that needs replacing? Oh, the osteopath told me, all right, or the chiropractor told me. Okay, so now we can start to embark with information that none of us have a particular attachment to, which could start to raise that cognitive dissonance to a point that either gives them an out so they can change their decision, or it's going to make them uncomfortable. They have to at least rethink things, right? So that could be facts, research, experience, statistics, right? Oh, just out of interest, did you know that they did a study 50 years ago and it showed that joints are actually meant to misalign? So if I rotate to the left, my joint's going to rotate slightly to the left, and rotate to the right. Same thing. What this has taught us is that joints aren't actually meant to be aligned. Just like you're asymmetrical in your day-to-day, you stand on one leg, you write with one hand. We're not really meant to be symmetrical creatures. Now, you'll probably catch a facial expression of them. Either they're like, yeah, like, all right, like, or they're kind of like a bit, they're kind of removed, they dismantle. That's fine, just leave it. Or it could be that belief system they actually prefer, and then they might even entertain it. Oh, so you're saying to me that my back's actually fine, I can move it? Yeah, we're going to start to break down what you're concerned about and the movements that you want to avoid, and we're going to come up with a new strategy of movement. How does that sound? So it's a way that you're raising cognitive dissonance, but the most important thing is you don't surround them by something that they can't escape from, which could be, you're wrong, that's not the right way to think about things. We've not been practicing that theory for years. You have to raise them to a point and then leave an outlet so they can then go into that direction with their new belief system. Another one might be, for example, carbs are bad. Yeah, so you had clients who say that carbs are bad, I don't eat carbs, or I'm going to go, yeah, cool, okay, fine. So once again, why do you think carbs are bad? Because when I eat them, I put on weight. Oh, well, did you know that carbohydrates actually per gram of glucose attract about 5 grams of water? So after you've deplenished them for about a week, your weight loss actually stabilizes. And the most important thing after that is that we reduce your caloric consumption. Now, once again, we've given them something that they might not like. We need to give them an out. The good thing is that if we actually increase your fiber and your water intake, it'll increase your satiety, you'll naturally reduce calorie intake and you don't even have to think about it. So if we start to implement more fruit and vegetables into your diet, more water, get you to bed a little bit early so you're not feeling as irritable and anxious and tired, that could actually reduce your calorie consumption. How does that sound? Okay, yeah, it sounds good. So you're giving them out. So raise cognitive dissonance, give them an out. Yeah? Any questions about that at all? All good? Okay, sweet. All right. So, discovering client values, discuss that, using Socratic questioning, ACT framework to understand values, and then away and towards goals from an NLP perspective. All right, so the next thing we're going to discuss, and the last thing we're going to discuss is, run through this, yeah, sorry, 1 second. Yeah. Returning to what is controllable, client values, Stoic Archer. Oh, okay, I might have just rushed ahead for one. True searching. Oh yeah, before we move on to the last slide, just wanted to talk to you guys about motivational interviewing. It's something that I've just found very useful. Motivational interviewing, once again, is evidence-based. There's evidence to suggest that it can create long-term behavior changes. And one of the techniques that I use for motivational interviewing is just guiding the conversation. Once again, focusing on away from goals and focusing from towards goals. And you can also do that within the same conversation. All right. So once again, I need an example, or I need someone to help me with this. So this is guiding conversations towards the desired outcome to increase motivation for change, leverage away from and towards goals. So can someone give me an impression of someone who needs to be a bit more active? Okay, so Ellie, are you currently happy with the amount that you're exercising at the moment? How come? How often would you like to be exercising a week? Oh, okay, how many are you currently doing?
Between 1 and 3.
Oh, okay, what are you working towards at the moment to start to increase that activity?
Just trying to make more time for it.
Oh, okay, how's that going?
Some weeks it goes really well, and other weeks it goes terribly.
Do you find that you're averaging out, so that on average you're doing more than you were about a month ago?
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. So all that you're doing is you're guiding the conversation, which reinforces either the negative, which is that I need to be exercising more, or the positive, which is I am exercising more than I was. Yeah. So you could use that with any kind of behavior, and you'll probably find that it just flows into your normal repertoire of conversation. And it's, once again, very uninvasive. It doesn't seem like you're doing much at all, but all of this links back down to the game plan or the SMART goals, which you'll then lead to at the end, and you're getting more of a buy-in for that.
I'll say to a lot of my clients, some of them are a bit apprehensive to be doing like exercises every day.
Yeah.
I always say the only reason I'm telling you to do this every day is because it creates a habit. I said if you miss a few days or 1 day here and there, don't worry.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah. Awesome. So
and then I found them, and then more likely to stick.
Awesome. So there's a couple of things that you're doing there, and I think I might have run past this actually. 1 second. I'll include this. One thing that you're doing there is you are. So you said, sorry, say that to me again. You'll say to them, that's it, perfect. You're using the because. All right, so And this is what I've mentioned to you guys. When you're asking to request someone to doing something, you have to have meaning behind it or justification for it, clinical reasoning or reasoning for any reasoning for that behavior. So you said that if you start to increase your activity or if you start to do it more, that will become a habit. So you're using reasoning to justify them doing it. So when they're doing it themselves, I'm doing this more because the more I do it, the more of a habit I'm going to be building. Yeah, cool. So that would be the same as us using our clinical reasoning. I need you to do this exercise because it's going to increase the amount of muscle mass in that area, or it's going to reduce the amount of pain in that area. It's going to build your metabolic, your basic metabolic rate, things like this, right? Have any of you guys heard about the Q jumping experiment? Yeah. So, yeah, Q jumping. So 70% denial. If you ask someone to jump in front of the queue, can I jump in front of the queue, please? They'll say no 70% of the time. If you say I need to jump in the queue because I really need to get back to my kids, or because I hate being in this place, even that, they're 70% likely to say yes. Doesn't really matter why you say, but just giving them the reasoning is effective. All right. So I'm sure I've missed out a couple of things here. One second. Let me just be sure. I'll show the strongest on the wing frame for children. Oh, no, it's here. That's fine. It's on the last slide. I haven't missed it. All right. So, last slide. So, to wrap this up, what we want to do is once we've gained an understanding of why understanding of where that patient, where that client is in space or is during that appointment, we can then use that as a way to frame the intervention. All right. So, if someone comes in and they want to be pain-free so they can play with their kids, if we start positioning intervention and it looks like we're just trying to get them stronger for the sake of getting stronger, they might think that we've completely lost sight of their goal and we've completely lost sight of where they want to go. So it's important that we continuously position the intervention to their desires. Goals must be agreed upon. Where are we heading? Shared goals. How do you want to get there? How these patients want to become pain-free, how your clients want to become fitter, is a luxury they have because they're paying for it, right? If they're going to the NHS, they get what they're given. Coming here, we can gain an understanding of what do they actually want from their journey going forward. It might be that they want more hands-on treatment than exercise intervention, so you position it that way. It might be that they want more gym time, so you position it that way. Could be that they want to be able to contact you anytime that they like, which might not be a good thing for you. It could be that they want more of a diet biased intervention. They want to be crawling out when they finished, right? It might be that that's what their values are, and we have the luxury of making sure that we position it that way to reach to satisfy them. Position the intervention to the client's outcome. Consult to understand the position. What are the time, motivation, energy, knowledge, resources available for this person to be able to get to where they want to be? Apply meaning to the intervention, like the Q jumping experiment, and then common scripts that I might use. Right, so common scripts are a way that I can help that person to understand what they're going through, to make sure that once again they're not going to a point of refusal. So for example, someone's gone through an acute flare and they doubt that it's working. One script I might use is, you're going through an acute flare and I need to guide your pain relief and management. You might be going through an acute flare because you've trusted yourself enough to do a little bit more, which is great, but we just need to rein it in a little bit. You went through an acute flare because the area's been sensitive for a long time and it might have reacted badly to treatment. Don't worry, this time I'm going to ease off. I'm not going to go as hard to make sure that you don't have a flare. Or it could be that you felt really stiff for 5 days after because it's your first training session in 3 years. Don't worry, it's going to get better as you go on. Or another script is, the strengthening exercise I showed you will need progression to benefit you in these ways. So that's a way that when someone is feeling like they're almost done, and they might be almost done, but you think that they've gone through enough atrophy or sarcopenia, or they don't have a good knowledge of these exercises yet, you're saying that I need to see you in X amount of time because this is when we're going to be going through these exercises or this management, which is going to scale you up to where you want to be. And then if you wanted to really be sure, that you're doing a good job, or that the person has made a full recovery, that's when you might ask them, please, can you come back in a couple of months' time, or can I see you in 6 weeks' time for a fitness check? You're almost there. I just want to check up on the progress to make sure that you're going in the right direction by this time. So, recital of the position. Patient's concerned of flare-ups. This will reduce the likelihood of flare-ups. Patient wants to return to said activity. This will speed your return to X. So all you're doing along the way is you are positioning where they want to be based on where they want to be. You're positioning where they're going from based on where they're going from. And you are just catching them at the right time to get them back on that path to recovery. And hopefully today we've just gone through a few communication techniques to enable you to do that a little bit better. All good? Any questions at all? Sure? Wicked. All right. Well, if you have any questions in the future, just let me know. Yeah? Sweet. Thank you so much.